bag and lose everything else. You know, their children, they don't care how much money you make or what you buy them. They were like, why didn't you play with me when I was a child? Why didn't you take me to the basketball game? Why didn't you go dancing with me? Why didn't you? And you can, it's the same thing with your significant other. If you have a wife and all you do is work, and then some other, the painter, pays attention to her, you know what I mean? Things happen. So it's the same with your children, man. And so that's been real big for me. And while I'm building a literal billion-dollar business, that's been very big for me. What's up, my man? How are you? How are you, man?
Good, good. I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced it. Is it go by Khaaz?
Khaaz, yep. Let me see what's on my. Let me make sure there's nothing personal up here. Hold up. Operation.
Just your social, banking information, nothing crazy.
Yeah, man. Let me take off one thing. You know, I have a son who's not even 2 years old yet. Oh, here it goes.
Oh, nice, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
Is your only son?
No, man. I got 3 total. This is my. He's 2. Oh, well, he's not 2 yet. He'll be 2, man. But man, he's so much joy, man. So I get a kick out of it. After I get off with you, I'm just gonna go play with him. We'll probably go ride. I'll ride the bike with him on the back.
Nice.
Like in like a little cart or whatever. We ride downtown, have fun. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I get some sorbet, and we chill out, man. Yeah. So if you have children, here's some good advice. If you have children or a child out there, if you you want an activity that your child will never cry while they're doing the activity, is riding bikes. They love it, man. They love it. Yeah, they love it. So let's get into it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, welcome to the Paint Your Future podcast. I say this is where your dreams paint your future. Something I was kind of leading into before you came on was that no matter what industry you're in, no matter what your goals are, no matter, you know, what you even do every day, something super important was having that roadmap, because you have to see it in your mind before you can live it in your life. So, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I want to start with, you know, what you're doing. How do you paint your future?
That's a good question, man. Me personally, I sit down with my wife. This is, you know, to be honest with you, I really sit, because we're a family, you know. She's a part of me. I'm a part of her. We have a child together both of us are a part of that child. So if you would have asked me this question years ago, I probably would have said, well, I. But now it's we. So, you know, if we're talking about business, I sit down with her and talk about that. We map it out. We draw it out. What do you want to be in 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years? What's your long-term goal? You want to just travel? You know, what do you want to do? I also include her father in the plan. She has family, sisters, brothers, etc. And that's how I paint my future now, man. I know it probably sounds weird because I'm not talking about making $1 gazillion or anything like that.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, my future includes my business, but I've learned, man, over time that, you know, you got to get the money. I'm not saying don't get the money. Get the money. I don't care what kind of currency it is. Get the money. But there are some things in life that you may not get a second chance at. And, you know, that's family. Like, for instance, you know, and I know this may not be a part of maybe what some people aren't looking for.
That's cool, man.
I can always make money, right? The money will always be there. But if I miss, so I just got over COVID. I had COVID for the second freaking time. And I've been traveling for about 2 weeks. And so I was away for about 6 or 7 days where I didn't see my son. And then when I came back, since I had COVID, I had to quarantine. So I wasn't able to touch him, hold him, hug him, etc. And once I got COVID, which is really like yesterday and today, you know, he was like a little different in just that short period of time. That's just a 10-day.
In a week?
10 days.
Wow.
10 days, because, you know, we have a nanny, we have my wife, so he's constantly getting nurturing, but just that, and he's very, very a mama's boy because she still nurses him. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've seen situations, and even been in situations myself, where I've seen people hustle like crazy and get the bag and lose everything else. You know, their children, they don't care how much money you make or what you buy them. They're like, why didn't you play with me when I was a child? Why didn't you take me to the basketball game? Why didn't you go dancing with me? Why didn't you do, why didn't you, why didn't you, why didn't you, why didn't you? And you can, it's the
Wow.
same thing with your significant other. If you have a wife and all you do is work, 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 and then the painter pays attention to her, you know what I mean? Things happen. So it's the same with your children, man. And so that's been real big for me. And while I'm building a literal billion-dollar business, that's been very big for me.
Now that's amazing that you mentioned that. I think it's often forgotten, especially in this whole hustle ambition mentality. Like on my timeline, I had to like switch around the algorithm because I want to learn more business and do more things, make more money. But it's a good reminder because, you know, we do have to take our rest days. And myself, I don't have a wife, but I do have a serious girlfriend. And that's something that we talk about. You know, dang, we haven't been on a date all month. You know, working 6 days a week. Oh man, I've only visited my parents twice this month. You know, things like that. So
right. You know, well, that's good that you're visiting your parents, man. Some people never go back. Some people don't have the blessing to have their parents around, and some people haven't seen or talked to their parents in months. So, you know, and that should be a sign. I'm glad that you mentioned that you see your parents twice a month, at least, because how you treat your mother is how you're going to treat your future wife. And how a son treats, and how you treat your father is, you know, how she will treat her future husband. So I think all of that has to, like, I think business people, I think, man, like you said, with this hustle mindset, we've taken business and almost separated it into this whole other thing when it should be a part. You know, the reason we're entrepreneurs is not so that we can work for the job or work for the money, but so that the money can work for us. That's how it should be. A part of my future is creating an asset-based business that produces enough income that really allows me to do more of what I love, which is be with my family, travel, you know, quality friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, right. No, that's the major part, so that the money works for us. And I think I also saw like somebody was talking about how a lot of people get into entrepreneurship for the money, but people that start their entrepreneurship journey, let's say older in the 30s and 40s, like corporations could pay more than any entrepreneur, and corporations could also give you a system so you can turn your work off. I think a lot of times when people get into entrepreneurship late, it's because the freedom is worth more than the salary.
Man, freedom is everything, man. Freedom
Yeah,
is everything.
And there's a phrase I like. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm disagreeing with you.
No, there's a phrase I like that's talking about like seizing opportunity. I think there's a lag on my side. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said it's called what opportunity?
Oh, so there's like a phrase I like. It's talking about seizing opportunity, and like when you see an opportunity, you seize it. So when Antonio referred me to you, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to jump on right now. Perfect, you're live. And the phrase I like is that the opportunity of a lifetime only lasts a lifetime of the opportunity.
Okay,
and that relates to what you're saying. You know, your kid's childhood only lasts a certain amount of time. Your parents are only on earth for a certain amount of time. A relationship only lasts as long as you nurture it. So I love what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna get into business, but I mean, you did mention something about creating assets. I want to know more about, you know, what you're doing on the business side of things to get all that freedom and to be able to spend time with your family. What would you say has been the most successful business you've built?
So I have a fintech payment processing company,
Okay.
and I mean that produces way more income for me than real estate or any other vehicle. I know a lot of people say you got to invest in this, invest in that. I think the best investment, man, is in you, and that when you invest in you, then you'll be better educated and more skilled at making decisions about whether it be stocks or, you know, even something as speculative as crypto or real estate. But I really think for some of us, like for me, I don't have time. I don't desire to drive all over the world looking at real estate. That isn't like I don't get excited about looking at properties. I know it's a valuable asset, but I do not get excited about looking at properties and fixing them up and selling them and flipping. I invest in that with a friend of mine who's an expert at it. But that excites him on a daily basis. It does not excite me whatsoever. I like, you know, the checks that come in, even though I don't think they're like tremendously big. So the thing that has given me the most freedom is the fintech processing company, which absolutely does create recurring income on a daily basis. I make money while I sleep, but at the same time, I just looked at something from a bank, CEO of the bank just texting me. But at the same time, the type of asset that I prefer to build is one that gives me at least multiples of 35 or 50. And what I mean by that is, let's say if you build a course and you sell it online, and that course makes you, I don't know, $1 million for that year. Hopefully you keep improving upon it, making it better. Maybe you make 5 million the next year. Whatever. I'm just using that number for an example. Now, to me, another level of building your asset is, can you sell that course building business? Now, if it has your name, if it's called the KhaazraMaaranu course, I'm probably not going to be able to sell it because nobody wants to buy my name unless I'm just like a super duper household name. But if it's called the Genius course, that's sellable. And I made $1 million per year from, or let's say I only made 100,000 per year, but now I built up the value where I can sell it for $5 million after I've already made a lot of money. So the type of asset in the company that I'm building or that I have now, that asset can be sold for multiples of 50. So let's say if it produces me $1 million a month, I make $1 million a month for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, if I'm adding software onto it and other sticky points, I can now sell that for $50 million.
Wow.
You follow me? Let's say it only makes me, let's say it only makes me $100,000 a month or 10,000. But and this is how businesses get these billion-dollar valuations. When you have so many users that are attached to your software, like Chime, the online banking company, they don't make a lot of money. They're valued at billions because of the potential to make income. Whereas the that I've created, it actually has income coming in. So even though I may not take home 100,000 or $1 million a month, let's say the business produces a couple million a month, I can now sell that asset for multiples of that figure down the line. You follow what I'm saying?
That's crazy to think 35, 50 times multiple. Because, stock markets, they're all excited about 10%. It's...
Really? Okay. Yeah, I haven't. No, man. Yeah. So especially in the software world, or especially in my industry, in the payments, fintech industry, you can sell your company for minimum multiples of 28. If you have software and a real infrastructure to go along with it, multiples of 50 for sure.
And then with the fintech company, do you tailor towards a certain industry, or is it like you're white labeling the software to sell to brands? Like how does that work?
Both. So we tailor to, e-com, we tailor to restaurants, we tailor to brick and mortar, a good stack. But we also have a software we were developing. I have to tell you more about this while we're talking, but we have a software developing that will allow other industries, other companies rather, to white label it so that you won't even know who's behind the scenes. And that's another way to actually grow the business as an asset. So you want to create businesses that not only produce income for you while you're doing something else, but also that builds up the valuation so that you can sell it or have a huge exit down the line if you'd like to.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then what would you say is what got you into that? Like how did it connect to you starting into that industry and being in fintech?
Frustration and a chance at a better opportunity. I worked for Goldman Sachs before as a consultant, like the investment banking firm in New York. That really didn't teach me what I'm doing today at all. I worked at Federal Reserve Bank. That didn't teach me what I'm doing at all. And then even after working at those quote unquote prestigious financial institutions, I went and worked for an elementary school, and that was the hardest damn job I've ever had in my life. But it also taught me more than the big financial firms taught me, because the big financial firms people make money there, but they're very restrictive, very political. You can't even say what's up. Oh, how are you doing, Mr. Johnson? All that kind of crazy stuff. And it was kind of like weird, man. And
were you a teacher?
Huh?
Were you a teacher at the school?
No, I was not a teacher. So I did the Goldman Sachs and Federal Reserve Bank. Then I went to the school. I started off below a teacher. I started off as a damn assistant aide. I forget what the title was. Some kind of assistant aide. And then
Yeah.
I was assisting the teacher. Then they brought me on as a technology guy to, like, you know, fix computers and load software, shoot video,
Mm.
everything known to man. I even wrote letters for the principal. I was even doing, I swear to
Yeah.
God, I did lunchroom duty, dude. I'm not kidding you.
Oh my
Lunchroom
God.
duty. I was helping the dean with discipline. I was walking into the neighborhoods, asking parents like, "Yo, your child didn't show up today." It was crazy, man. And so that taught me. It was the most horrible. I feel like it was the most horrible job at the time. But in hindsight, like right now at this second, I'm saying to myself, you know what? That job was a blessing because it taught me a lot, and I worked my butt off to the point where I got so frustrated with the responsibilities and the income restrictions that it made me look for something else. And
Mm.
that's how I got into the industry, you know, because
Got
my
you
boss,
curious.
well, my boss was too damn bossy. Like, here I am, a grown man, you bossing me around like, you know, I'm in your harem or something. You know, they gave me a walkie-talkie at the time. He would call me whenever he had a thought. A thought. He was like, and now this is a big campus, even though it's an elementary school, it's pretty big. Khaazra, I need you to come to the office. I get to the office and he's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, what do I think about what? What do you think about this letter? I'm like, man, you couldn't wait to tell me that. We can't, like, I got to be running all across the campus like that. Artie boy, what's up, man? This is a guy, he's in California.
Oh,
Hey,
dope.
Kaz.
Okay.
He says, hey, Kaz, I'm successful thanks to you, boss. Really? Oh, man, I appreciate that, Arthur. I appreciate that big time, man. I
I'd
really
love
do.
to see that.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
in Glendale, like in Los Angeles. Is he close
Oh,
by or?
I think Arthur's out there too.
That's amazing, man. We got to connect. That's dope. How
Yeah,
long
and
have you?
so that job, man, it just, and then I had like restrictions with, you know, how often I could see my family, you know, because you got to go to work at 8:30, you got to get off at 4:30, whatever. And the one other thing that I
Yeah.
realized, no matter how hard I worked, no matter how smart I thought I was, it wasn't scalable. I can't scale me working at a job, right? And so
Mm.
my thing is, unless you have equity in a company, where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even if it, like, that's why I like sales so much, because, you know, you can kind of create equity based upon the people you bring in, or unless you're learning
Same.
a great deal at the company, or if you have a good bonus structures, most companies can only take you so far. So that non-scalability is what also got me into what I'm doing now. You know what I mean?
And that's what got me into insurance. The
Ah,
ability to do
uh,
sales, and then also I'm building a team right now. So same thing, man. We're right there on the same path.
yeah. And when you start to see those glass ceilings, and you start to come across these business owners who have no intention on helping you grow, and their only goal is how much money they can make,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just not a good, it's not a long-term fit for you. Like I said, unless you're learning a hell of a lot at this particular company, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying because I think the way that you felt with the teacher job, I kind of felt throwing events and then also doing Uber and Lyft because that was the way that I was paying my bills. I was doing Uber, I was doing Lyft, and I would work my ass off working nights, weekends, mornings, all of that. And
Wow.
same thing, it's not scalable. So it was the same frustration that made me had to think like, okay, there's got to be more ways. There's got to
Right,
be more ways. And
right.
then low key, for me, you know, there's a lot of terrible things that happened with COVID, but I'm thankful for the shutdown because it was one of the first times in my life that I could remember I had to stop everything because I've always been on this hustle ambition mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
when COVID hit me, yeah, you know, I had to go through those, you know, depressing moments and those little parts in your mentals where you're doubting yourself. Man, I've
Right,
been doing this
right.
for so long, and now all of a sudden it stops. But I really had to look at myself and say, what now? And I
Mm,
think that's kind of where we align. You know, you had that what now type of mentality to get out of there. And I
yeah,
really appreciate your story, man. That's amazing.
you're welcome.
Tell me more. So, how was that transition? So, you were hungry, you wanted to change. What
Mm-hmm.
got you into fintech and being scalable in that sense? And how would people get started like that?
Interesting question, man. There's a book I would suggest that your audience read called SOAR. SOR. It's like you're frozen. I hope I'm not frozen too. Okay, I
Can you
see you.
hear me?
Yeah, I can see.
I can
Yeah.
hear you.
So in the book SOAR, he talks about the concept of sometimes, you ever heard that saying where they say You have to, if you jump out of an airplane, you have to create your parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
So basically, the way I got into this, it wasn't like I'm not like a genius dude or a real smart dude for that matter. So it wasn't like I was doing research and, you know, figured out, if I do this, then this happens. If I do that, then that happens. It wasn't like that. I really jumped into it because I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be with my family more. And I learned sales along the way. I loved it because I like talking with people. I like working with people. I like helping people. And then when you get into the industry, all these other avenues open up, right? Sometimes it's an avenue that opens up, maybe something simple as, you know what, sales is great, money is great, but people will take advantage of you with your money if you get a chance. So it'll force you to maybe get into software that can help you manage that because you can't trust people as much. You follow what I'm saying? And that's the fintech part of it. You know, fintech basically really, you hear a lot of people saying fintech, and I've heard people say that they own fintech companies and they own banks, and most of it is like, when I look at it and research, I'm like, man, you don't own no fintech. So fintech really only means financial technology. That's all fintech means, financial technology. So if you have software that helps people with their finances in any way, whether it be attaching to their bank account or having some kind of access to their bank account, that's considered fintech because it makes your life easier versus physically going to a bank and having to open up an account. Now you can go to Chime and open a bank account. You can go to Chase and open up a bank account. You know what I'm saying? So that's really that's what fintech is. Just making life more efficient as it relates to finances.
Nice. So like a Tally or a Grain would be like that, like the applications that get you there.
Yep.
Those it got me out of a lot of situations. Tally and Grain, just like an extra few $100 will help you, you know?
Yeah, man.
And that's crazy you talk about it. So in the insurance world, I came in with Assura, and then recently there was a merger. So one of the reasons why I'm building a team is because with the merger, they came out with fintech tools to make it easier for me to build a team. Okay. So how you mentioned courses, they have like 2 courses to train agents along the way. The name of the company is called Quility now. So because I saw that there's courses to train agents, that they have like a CRM so you can keep track of your clients and your people coming on board, I wasn't so afraid to like bring people into the system now. And I mean, do you have a coding background, or how would somebody get into the fintech industry without that background? Okay.
I had 0 coding experience besides HTML back in the day.
Okay, cool.
That's it. So there's several ways you can get into fintech. One is that you can find software that already works. You can become an investor. You can become a partner. You can even white label it to an extent. There's companies out here right now. So there's a new charter that came out not too long ago on how you can open up your own online bank account. It's a lot of damn steps, but it's a lot of steps. But if you want to do it, it's worth it because, you know, having access to capital is key. So one of the ways that you open up an online bank account is you find a bank that will allow you to process on their platform. It's already there. You just pay them a piece of the money. Matter of fact, if you go to Chime or there's you ever heard of Greenwood? It's like the black bank in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's Killer Mike that does that.
Correct. Go to the terms and conditions and read it. On there, you will see that they use something called Truist, which is basically, I think it used to be BB&T and SunTrust. It's basically
the merger
together. So they don't necessarily have their own banking system. They're riding on the rail of another bank. Boom. Now he's a bank. You follow me?
Wow.
And, you know, there's some other pieces that go along with it. But today, man, like there's another guy out there who does payment processing. He doesn't have a payment processing company. What he does, he uses Stripe's payment processing, but he created his own name. But nope, like how many people read the terms and conditions on anything? Like hardly any. So no one knows until they get to a point where they have an issue with customer service or something like that. I personally want to hire developers, or we have developers who create the software, because you know you look at something that's already made and then say, huh, how can I improve upon it? Go get the developers and build on that software, right? And then now you own the software, which makes you way more valuable than if you were just to white label it. But you don't have to be a tech person. You just need to know what you want to happen, and the tech can go and code exactly what that is.
Man, yeah, I think people don't even know that. I didn't really know that the one that Killer Mike does, the bank, was on another platform. That's dope.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
white labeling is, it
Right.
sounds like a key.
He doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to use them forever. He may use them until the point where they make enough money. Like Chime, you know that Chime has more customers than some of your big banks like Bank of America, and they've only been around for 3 to 5 years. They have more. They don't have as much money, but they have as many customers, and they don't even have
Wow.
a bank. They don't have a bank. They don't have. Think about Bank of America. They got like what 1,000 locations everywhere. Think about the expense. Think about all the employees and staff they have to hire, right? All the security,
Mm.
the cameras, all this other kind of stuff, right? The taxes. Chime has no branches, and who the hell wants to go to a bank anyway? For the most part today, so it's a smart move, man.
Yeah, speaking of that and kind of like systems, I really like systems now. So Capital One was on that same tip where they didn't have any branches, nothing like that. And with my events company a few years back, we partnered with them to do live like open mics in the bank.
Okay.
But the bank was basically like really nice real estate partnered up with Pete's Coffee. So it
Okay.
was cool. They had like 1 or 2 employees and they just had a bank like ATM. And then the rest of it was like a cafe.
Yep.
And the thing to me, it made a lot of sense because you think a big corporation, how do you leverage everything? Well, they have prime real estate now in Santa Monica, off the beaches, in these different areas downtown. Then they had their community programs, and our event was a part of their community program. They basically catered all of the food for our artists that came out to perform. So
Okay.
it's just such an interesting thing that you're saying that because people when they're all virtual now, the only reason to go physical is to get more benefits. And I think that was one example I saw with Capital One.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, if you think about some of the money that people spend for cars, like these fancy cars, some cost 250, some cost 500,000. You could start a software.
Yeah.
You could literally start a software company if you wanted to. That would be, and it may not make you that much money in the beginning because a lot of us are like, we want to get paid now. I do too. But imagine if you start a software company and you only make $30,000 a year for 2 years, but then you start making 100,000. But then your fourth or fifth year, you sell the company for $10 million to $20 million. That'd be worth it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that's perfect.
That'd be worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, even if you work your ass off for 4 years and you're not getting sleep, like still you're gonna do better than any other job or entrepreneurial place, even if. But
I would say, because I'm not like super duper money focused. And matter of fact,
yeah,
every day, man, not every day, but often I think to myself with the people that I know, and it makes me not even want to be around them because they're so damn money focused that everything they do, their friends, their friendships, the how they treat you, the relationships, it's all money. And
mm,
man, that turns me off to be honest with you. And I would suggest to people that if you can make money if you just focus on money. You just wake up and just think about money, 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 money. You want to be a robot for money. So be it. I'm
no,
not.
definitely not.
But if you
Yeah,
really want to have a life full of passion, right, where you're learning and you're enjoying, I would suggest getting into a business for the love of what you're doing to help other people versus only the money.
mm.
If that makes sense,
No, it
right?
does make sense.
Right? Because
Yeah,
we go to college because we want to graduate so we can make a certain amount of money, and look how that turns out. Nobody's happy afterwards, right? You end up working for some boss who's a jerk, somebody who doesn't like you just because of the way you look or something like that, something really silly and stupid. And then you got to wake up 2 hours early just to get there, then you got to dress a certain way, then you got to 2 hours to get home, then like, damn, I only have an hour for myself throughout the day. And you went to school
right.
for 4 or 5 years, you have this big loan because you wanted to make more money, not because of a passion that you had to either help people or make the world a better place. You follow what I'm saying? So I would
Yeah,
that someone go about it the other way around, because I like to have fun. Like, I'm not going to be the guy working 12, 15 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and then I don't see my family. I get freaking cancer, I get an ulcer. At the end of all this, my family doesn't like me, my son don't like me, my daughter don't like me, my wife doesn't like me, and then all I
yes.
have is a little bit of money to show. I think that's a failed life, man, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, it's a good point to make. Cause so something I wanted to bring up. So I come from like poetry and music, and I'm still passionate about that, and I'm really excited because I'm starting to get more into events.
Mm-hmm.
So for people out there that are following their passion, and you know, the same thing, they have the same beliefs and principles as you. It's not about the money, they really love what they're doing. How
Mhm.
will they find that balance if they don't see the money? How will they be able to tap into that? Or what would your suggestion be? Because I really want to get your feedback on that.
Oh, that's an interesting question too. So when I listen to people on social media who are selling their products, and I'm not knocking it whatsoever, a lot of times they the way they sell makes you feel like you're not enough or you don't have enough, and so
Mm,
it causes some people to live to try to live someone else's life or to even put themselves in positions where they can't even afford the lifestyle because they're trying to impress somebody else. And so you really have to like think about what really makes you happy. Don't give a damn about what other people think and say. And at least for a while, set your life up. I'm not saying, count pennies, but set your life up in a way where you're able to pursue your passions without having to be stressed out about paying an $800 car note and a $3,000 tiny apartment in New York or California or something like that, right? Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be struggling and stressed out because you won't be able to that your true gift may not even be able to come to you in that fashion. So if you're
right.
a person who struggles between pursuing your passions and making enough money, of course, take care of the basics. You say you have a girlfriend, so you got when you go out to eat, you don't want her pulling out her wallet, right? You want to take care of that. You got to have some
Right,
money.
at least,
I
at
hope
least.
I'm not putting you on the spot, but you
No,
know,
no, no, it's all good.
okay, you want to have some income coming in, right? You know,
Yeah,
um, you don't want to be in a position where it's like you got to be calling home, asking mom and dad, "Can you give me $50 to keep your phone on?" or something crazy like that. Take
right.
care of yourself, but put yourself in a position to win. You don't hear about Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and none of these guys with tons and tons of debt. They pursued their passions first. Even the other entertainers and the artists that you could think about, right? They pursued their passions and then the wealth came. Even somebody like a business guy who's not an entertainer like Jeff Bezos. Shoot, he started off in his garage or house or something like that. He pursued his
Mhm.
passion first, then the income came. He didn't go out and get the Lambo and the Rolls Royce and all these other, tons of jewelry all over his neck. So he didn't go out and do that. They pursued their passion
Right.
first in within their zone at the time, and then the wealth came.
Mm. But then, so would you have certain steps? Because I remember when you had your live, something that stood out a lot was the psychology part, along with the history.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of does touch on psychology. If you're consuming all this content telling you not enough, and then you work harder to become enough, but then you're consistently seeing the same thing over and over, how could you hack into that psychology part of it to help yourself to continue to get towards your passion? What would you say?
So I'm gonna answer that question I'm gonna take a step back first.
Okay.
As for me, what has helped me in business is not. I have a library behind me, right? And this is not even all my books. This is just some of my books, right? I have not read them
Yeah.
all. I have not read them all, but some of the books are technical in terms of like how to do this, how to to understand the language of business, which is accounting. There are books like that out there, but the books and the experiences that have helped me the absolute most in business is understanding people, the psychology of people. Because if you think about it, everything that we do revolves around people, right? There's
Mhm.
nobody that I know of who is living on an island all by themselves. So if you want to have a successful business, you have to understand the psychology of people. And one way to take a shortcut on that, because you can't experience every situation yourself, you'll be burned out from that.
Right.
You can read history. History is by far one of the best teachers because it'll tell us what happens when you have a recession. How do people act, right? What's
Mhm.
that damn series that came out about the zombies? It was like they got like 10 like series on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Walking
Walking
Dead.
Dead.
Yeah, I actually think that was
Uh
the stupidest thing ever. But
huh.
I was like, man, why would they make a series about zombies who walk like half a mile an hour? You know, I mean, like who can they catch? But it was really about the psychology of people and the way people act during times of famine or despair. I went through that myself, where I had a situation with a business partner of mine, and all this crazy stuff happened. Right, most of the people who I helped, like literally who I helped, and I had to stand my ground on my ethical ground. But I watched how other people moved, and when it comes to money, man, people act funny. People do some really strange stuff for money.
Right.
The friendships, whatever you've done to help them, all that's out the window for some people, right? And you see what direction people go in when it comes to the money. And that is a part of understanding the psychology of people. Now, also, you can just read what has happened throughout history to determine how do people act in times, like I said, of famine or despair, right? And if you know that, and you have a business or a company or a team, if when your business stops making a certain amount of income, you don't have to think about who's going to stay with you. You need to be planning on bringing other people on. You need to be planning on bringing more resources on, because people have to take care of themselves. They have to take care of their family. And unfortunately, in today's society, it's almost like every man for himself. So even those people, I'm telling you, I went into the community, the quote unquote culture, to help people. And those same people were probably my worst problems when the situation happened. And this is me trying to help them. And unfortunately, I didn't take the time to think about the psychology of people, what was going on in their life, and also to understand the history, because I don't care what nationality you are, people are people. I don't care what they say. They could be throwing the fists up, talking this, talking that, all that stuff. When it comes to money and things like that, people are pretty much the same. So that question that you asked, and so basically to really elevate your business and to navigate through all the hills and the valleys that you will absolutely have in business, you have to understand the psychology of people. And to understand the history will absolutely help you. Now, I think your question was, how do you get into the psychology of people as it relates to figuring out, you know, how they can navigate between, you know, having all this luxury and this lifestyle and pursuing their passions. Well, if they take a step back, let's say if they're in music, look at all the entertainers who lived on the edge, who, you know, who took the loan from the music company in advance. Right now, you don't have to do that. Like, look what happened to them. If you don't sell a certain amount of records, not only do they take all that money back, they take your music, they own everything, right? They own you for the most part, right? You look at boxers or whatever, something like that. And I think that's why Floyd Mayweather is so successful. Like, he owns himself, where some of the other boxers, they take out loans and they're owned. It's the same thing in business. You follow me? So look at the entertainers who live on the edge, the ones who maybe got too high off into drugs or something like that, right? And if they just take a step back to look at what has happened to other entertainers before them, man, they can have out another direction to go and say, maybe I shouldn't work with that particular company because they're known for taking advantage of people. Maybe I shouldn't be hanging in that particular crowd because, you know what, if you have to drink and smoke every night, then eventually you know, you're going to lose control and you're going to go into some other drug that would take control of you. So I use psychology and history from that perspective. And, you know, sometimes I just have to take a step back, you know, quiet myself down, quiet my emotions down. And a lot of things sometimes will be revealed to you during that process. And sometimes, really, man, also, JD is, people are not going to want to hear this, but talking to your parents. Because, you know, sometimes you talk to a banker, you talk to unfortunately, I paid some litigation attorneys. I don't even want to tell you how much I paid them, but they didn't have my best interest at heart at all. They were taking advantage of me because they wanted to sue so they can keep making money, right? They never wanted the case to end. And I finally found an ethical attorney that helped me, but unfortunately, my mother is no longer here with me today. My wife's mother recently passed 3 years ago, and she was a super duper a resource for guidance. And her mom, I think, I don't know, in her 70s. Do you know how much wisdom she has?
Crazy wisdom, yeah.
Crazy wisdom. And they don't necessarily have to be in. You can go and hire some super duper expensive mastermind person who only sees you as a number. Whereas you can go and talk to your own damn parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles who don't want anything from you for the most part. They truly have love for you and they want you to succeed. So they're going to give you unbiased information. And that is another source of history that you can lean towards.
Man, I love that. I think I've never heard that perspective on the business side, because that's true. They have no need from you. They've already raised you and gave you everything that you got to be. So
they truly love you. I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many so-called friends I thought I had, but when things hit the fan, they didn't even want to call me. They didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to text me. Some of them threw me under the bus. And this is me helping them. I mean, I'm not trying to like paint a picture or where, I'm the victim. I'm just telling you, I'm just being 100% real with you.
yeah,
And they showed their true colors after a while. They only wanted me because of what I could do for them. And who else to tell you, especially your mom? Your mom is going to tell you more than anybody else what the real deal is, because women have that inner kind of like guidance. And
they're like nurturers.
say it again.
They're nurturers. They nurture
They're
you.
nurturers, but they have that insight, and they can say, "Listen, I remember telling my son he had this girlfriend, and I was like, dude, you don't want to be with her. Like, that's not the kind of girl you want to be with." He didn't listen, right? And sure enough, it panned out. She was a little bit too loose for him at the time. And I would have told her, you don't want him either. Like, you guys are children. You know what I mean? There's like nothing you can really do with each other right now besides play. And that's just pure advice, where he had some friends telling him something different, but those friends were also wanting him to work for them. There was something else that they wanted from him. So yeah, man, a lot of times you can get really good advice from your loved ones. It could be your girlfriend, it could be your wife, your husband, or just your parents, your grandparents.
Yeah, man. I think when I'm hearing you speak today, in my mind, I'm kind of battling like what I've been through, because at the beginning of my whole, like, since I was a kid, passion has always been my thing. So I was like 100% yes. And then when I was hit and like, with COVID and everything, when everything gets like ripped from you like a rug, I just had to figure it out. So that's what got me back into sales. That's what got me into insurance. I'm able to like get these different things and use psychology to make money. But yeah, it's a good reminder. Like, even when you see money, don't forget about your passion.
Don't forget
that was just a means to an end. Like, that's not it, So
Yep.
I was actually, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah, no, so I was actually like, I had a full conversation with somebody, and I'm like, at the beginning of an entrepreneurship road, like, you choose the money to fund your passion, or you choose your passion to just monetize. And in my mind, those were two separate roads. But after speaking to you, I mean, it's kind of like both, and it's case by case.
Yeah,
So,
you said you choose the money. You said, say that again?
So like in my mind, there's two ways, right? So you choose a path that's going to give you the most amount of resources, income, so that you can fund your passion, right? Or you can just go straight passion and then figure out a way to monetize along the way. Kind of like SOAR, the reference
I would get the skill sets first, because if you have this, yeah, man, all day long. If you have it, because let's say and this is why investors only want to invest in businesses that have already been through pain, and the owner of the business has already put, blood, sweat, and tears into the business, because they've gained the skill sets. Because let's say if I give a brand new, I've had people come to me and say, hey, I got this business idea. I need 100,000. I'm like, okay, how much you put into it? Oh, nothing. I'm trying. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So what if you get $100,000, but you don't have the skill sets to manage that money? Maybe money management is not your thing. Maybe you're good at sales, but you're not good at money management. And people blow through that money. I've done it myself personally. Just, I'm like, damn, where'd the money go? Right? So get the skill sets. That passion will give you get the skill sets first, and then the money will come, and you'll be able to attract money. Think about people who have skills. Like that's what all the entertainers are. They're people who know they're skilled at entertaining people. And what do they attract? They attract money. They attract money, and more money. Same thing with business. They have people who are so skilled in business that they attract money. So I would pursue that option first.
Yeah, no, that's a great perspective. So, I mean, for people watching, what's like the top 3 skill sets that they could build no matter what industry they're in?
Top 3 skill sets. Well, one is the ability to work with people. The ability, leadership by far. Leadership is by far the top skill set I would say to have.
Okay.
Leadership. Yep. I think
Leadership.
leadership. I think it's going to become more and more important today, more than ever. You know, we had some presidents in the office that, man, they showed a certain kind of leadership that was like really weird, and it had people like we were damn near a civil war in the country, right? And that's that type of leadership. So I say leadership is by far number one. Yes. That's my son. Leadership is
Nice.
him right there. Leadership
Aw.
by far is number one. And then I would say also, and this is going to sound like I'm talking in a general sense because it really depends on what industry, but
Yeah.
the business skills in your industry. If it's the music industry, you need to understand what it takes to be successful in that business. Maybe it's singing, maybe it's business management. I don't know what area of business, what area they specialize in, but there's so many different areas in all these different verticals. Let's say you in the marijuana business, right? Hopefully you know more than just smoking, right? Hopefully marijuana businesses, right? So I would say develop that skill set. How do you manage that particular business? In payment processing, there's so many levels. There's CFOs, there's CEOs, there's underwriting, there's risk, there's tech support, there's customer service, there's software. There's so many different. And think about the podcast world. You got the person.
Right.
Sometimes you have to do it all, but you got to go out and get the guest on, right? Then you got to market the business. Then you got to sell the business, right? Then you have to get advertising. So many different areas. So, and then I think sometimes we jump into businesses and we don't think about mastering a particular skill set in that business, and we allow other people to come in and take advantage of us, right? And I'm not trying to be negative, but it does. People get taken advantage of all the freaking time. So that would be my top 2 things: leadership, and then mastering a particular skill set in your industry.
That's powerful. I'm writing that down. I take notes while I do these podcasts because I think sometimes we have a conversation and then it's so easy to forget sometimes.
Okay.
But I mean, I see that, it's almost, you're on East Coast time, so it's almost 4 o'clock for me. But for you, I know you said your family's super important. How do you see yourself painting your future, and like, what's your masterpiece? Because obviously it sounds like you're doing pretty good business-wise, but what's your overall masterpiece?
Well,
Let's say in like 5 years.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. So right now, as we speak, I'm in a situation where I'm rebuilding, and let me sit down over here and tell you this one. So I'm in I'm in a situation where I'm rebuilding, right? And what I'm telling you is all from experience. So I'm in a situation. Oh, no problem. Where I'm rebuilding, and this particular deal, it's a multi-million-dollar deal. Like literally a multi-million-dollar deal. This deal could literally be worth $50 or $100 million in a few years. Who knows? At this time, once I do this deal, I'm going to be $1 million in the hole.
It's kind of like, is it worth it, right?
I'm going to be $1 million in the hole, like no exaggeration. But the upside down the line is that 50 million, 100 million, 150 million, it just depends. So I'm also in the process of relearning, and I have mentors. I have a legal professional that I work with all the time. I have a financial guy that I work with all the time. I listen to my wife because she has a whole nother view, right? She don't want nothing from me but to be a good husband and a good father to my son. So I get unbiased information there. And then I listen to myself as well, maybe through meditation or something like that, journaling as well. So I don't want to give the picture like, oh man, I have it all together already. So I'm also repainting my future because I had a different view of my future let's say a year or two ago, because our business was just like booming like that. Something happened, taught me a huge damn lesson, and now I'm repainting that. So now my goal, before my goal was I'm gonna make a certain amount of money in my specific area, and boom, that's cool. Now I have a different goal, whereas I'm gonna make money, but at the same time, what she say? Appreciate the candor. Oh, you're welcome. I gotta be honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, now this second time around building the business, there's going to be all kinds of systems in place that were there before, but that I didn't necessarily understand or have access to. And those systems aren't going to be, I can't do it all by myself. I can't be the sales guy, the marketing guy, the CFO, the chairman of the board. You know, I can't do everything, right? So it's really about building a team, which is going to require leadership from me. But at the same time, I'm also a follower because I'm listening to what my attorney is saying. I'm listening to what the finance guy is saying. I'm also listening to my wife to make sure I don't, what they say, gain the whole world and lose my soul, right? So
Right.
this time around, the future is still this huge exit at the end of the business journey, but at the same time, the future that I want is one where I really truly do make a positive difference in the world to create an ethical fintech payment processing company. Because the CEO of a bank literally just told me yesterday on the phone, he's like, Khazra, he said, what would be great if you can create a company that's ethical, because he says everyone in this damn industry, this is not me saying it, this is him. He says everyone is so damn shady and unethical. Like, this is what he said. And I agree with him 100%. So for me to create a business like that in itself, in the financial arena, is a huge lift. And then to do it in a way where I still graduate from that particular chapter of my life. It's not the whole thing, from that chapter of my life with my family intact, without screwing people over, right? So that's the future that I'm painting. I'm still painting it. It's not done yet. So
Yeah. You got an open canvas. You're restructuring. It's brand new. It's okay.
yeah, man. So that's exactly it. And so, I've been in the industry for about 11, 12 years or so. And I think I've even developed, when you play basketball, you develop like this like second sense of like, how things are going to go in basketball. I think I've developed a second sense now in business where I can almost look at a business structure and determine if it's going to last or not. I can like look at it on paper and say, man, this business is not going to be here next year. This business is not going to be here in years. I can look at a business based upon even how the marketing campaigns look and say, you know what, they're going to make some money right in the here and now, but next year they'll be on to a different hustle because that's not going to last. So I want to build this business that will be here tomorrow for that big evaluation I spoke about earlier, so that me, myself, my family, and even other people in the community who I want to have the excess capital to be able to invest and help other businesses at the same time. So
that's beautiful.
yeah, man.
What do you think about the phrase "how you do anything is how you do everything"?
I hope it's not true.
I'm there
I
with
don't
you,
do
man.
everything good, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Man, I hear that a lot, man.
Me too. Yeah.
I hear that a lot, and I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a spirit of excellence in everything I do. My wife just told me yesterday. She says, she says, you stopped cooking. I said, when? She says, after we got married. I said, no, I cooked a couple times after that. Right?
How long you been married?
Man, maybe what, 5, 7 years now.
Oh man, yeah. It's funny. I asked my business friends, "Do you believe in that statement?" They're like, "Yes, 100%." I wake up in the morning. I have a morning routine, and I ask my creative friends, and they're like, "Not at all." Like, no, I actually like music and poetry. Everything else is just a supplement. And
Yeah,
it's
and like I think you need to be really good at a few things or one thing. There's a book I read called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes a long time ago. And it says that a lot of times people try to like practice all these different things. Where he says that he focused on practicing one kick 1,000 times as opposed to practicing 100 different kicks. And
Wow.
he said he became an expert at that, which is so true. So if you can become good at one thing, right, just one thing, then it'll make everything else so much better. Like, I don't need to be like I said earlier, I don't need to be the best underwriter. I don't need to be the best salesperson, the best marketing person, the best CEO, the best chairman. I don't need to do all those things. I need to become a good leader. And part of being a good leader is actually thinking about how what I do affects other people. So if I build a company, I can't build the company based upon only how much money I want to make or the kind of lifestyle that I want to have. You know what I mean? I build a company where it's shareholders first, right? I need to build a company where it's my family, my team's family, and our clients first, right?
Right.
So I'm just totally rethinking things and how business should be done. And I know I'm not perfect, and I'm going to be relying on other geniuses and people around me to help guide me. Because, you know, I'm a sucker for people, man. I trust people pretty easily. I don't know where the hell that came from, because I'm from Detroit too. But I do, right? I trust people, and so I need people around. Let me see. I wound up mastering branding because I mastered several different aspects of it. There it is, right there. He just
Testimony right there.
Yup. And so I forgot what the hell I was gonna say, but yeah, becoming that leader, man, and just, you know, I had a guy just tell me today. He says that we just did an interview for an underwriter risk analyst today.
Okay.
And the guy who was conducting the interview, he says, Khaazra, you need someone to watch your six. I was like, huh? He said, you need someone to watch your back.
Watch your back.
I was like, oh, okay. And I really think, I don't want to consider it a weakness in my life, but now that I think about it, me growing up in life, I'm always a cool dude, always a good guy, but I thrived better when I had my cousin watching my back. You know, when I had my uncle, my mom, my grandparents, right? Some of us, you know, we think that we have to do everything ourselves and we got to, like, take on the whole world. Well, that's not me, right? That's not my strong point. So
It's good you noticed that too.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I'm going to become good at the area of leadership. And then within, because not, like if I was just a marketing person, I'll become really good at marketing. If I was just sales, I'll become good at sales. I've developed some of these skill sets along the way. But right now, the success of the company is going to depend on the success of our team, not just me by myself. So that's where I'm headed.
Now that's exciting, man. And to kind of just mirror off what you're saying, I think if I had to say one skill set, I want to be able to ask the right questions to the right people. If I do that in every aspect of my life, because I don't know if you see my page, but I'm the same way. I have a lot of different things pulling me left and right. But if I ask the right questions, I can get the right people on the podcast. And I ask the right questions to myself, it's going to expose the thoughts in my mind that turns into my poetry. If I ask the right questions in sales, it exposes a situation that tells somebody they need a policy for their family. So I'm just like, that's one thing I could say. If I get really good at asking questions, it's going to help me in three different places.
Yeah, there's a guy who wrote a book called The Road to Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. I was just getting that book. And
The Road to Less Stupid?
Yeah. He basically, he made $100 million before he was 40, lost it all, and then gained it back. And he has a section in the book called Thinking Time, where he sits down in the chair, like something similar to what I'm sitting in, with no distractions, no phone, and he'll write out 3 different questions, and he'd just sit there and think about them. And as the answers come, he writes it down. And he does that, I think, 45 minutes a week or something like that, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So, yeah, somebody said questions are key to the conversation. So, yeah, that's a good thing you're doing, man. Asking the right questions will absolutely.
Man, I was trying to take it one step at a time, man.
No, man, that's good. Ask the right questions, and, you know, you look pretty young, man. You can change your mind 100 times, right? I talked to somebody the other day, and, you know, it's like 24, she's 25. She was so discouraged. because, you know, she's not doing this, she's not doing that. I said, you on social media a lot? She's like, yeah. I was like, yo, you're looking at the wrong things, right? You're comparing your life to other people. And you could be any age. Actually, you can always change your mind. Unless you're 6 feet in the ground, whatever didn't work before, hey, that's a learning lesson, right? You don't have to be bitter about it. Just look at it like, let me take those lessons and move on to the next chapter of my life. So ask the right questions, try this, try that. I think the more you do, and I think if you think about children, you know, and I'm saying this now because my son is so young, the one thing that they always say, they say expose children to a lot of stuff. You ever hear that? They say expose them to a lot of things. Take them to dance, let them do basketball, let them do tennis, let them do music, right? Get them a bunch of toys because it basically activates all these different areas of the brain. And when we become older, I think we move away from that. We move away from the artistry that's within us, and we get like pigeonholed. We get a job in teaching. We're only a teacher forever and ever. We don't bring anything else to the teaching experience, just teaching from the book. You know, we become a construction worker, right? We only do that. Or we become an accountant. We only do that, right? And people are so dry and bland. Whereas if you have the opportunity to try different things, even if you have to volunteer, I would suggest doing that, because once you find your passion, you will know it. And I think that's one of the best ways to find your passion, is you just do so many damn things that eventually you find out what really clicks and what you excel at. And you only need to do it right one time to be successful.
Man, that's amazing advice, man. I appreciate that. My birthday's next week, actually. I'm turning 29. So.
Okay, there you go, man. 29. So
getting there.
29. So so this I remember doing a reading back in the day, and he was like into astrology, and he says that a person's life has significant changes every 7 years. Every 7 years. I'll let you look into it further, another topic of discussion, or discussion of the topic, whatever. But every 7 years, man. So you got to figure out what cycle you're in your life, right? And because what you're doing today, dude, it may change next year, but it doesn't mean that you're not successful. This piece right here could just be something to add to the puzzle or to your particular book that you're painting for yourself. So keep up the work, though, man.
Hey, I'm gonna receive that, man. I appreciate the conversation. I think you changed some of my perceptions from when I started the conversation with you. So that's always good, you know, to challenge your beliefs and then surround yourself with people that can justify it and give you a perspective different, you know? And that's also why I like doing the podcast. So is there anything that you want to leave our people that are tuning in with today? Any last words?
Love yourself, and love yourself, love your family, and as much as you possibly can, help other people. I know that sounds cliche, but that's
it's true.
Yeah, that's what I suggest, man. And if you have an opportunity, one thing I wish I had done, if you have an opportunity to be like, there's a book I read a long time ago called Saving Daylight, or Chasing Daylight. Chasing Daylight. And it was written by a major CEO, super smart guy. And I don't want to give away the book, but basically his whole life changed in a matter of a month. And I'm talking about a super successful guy financially, but his whole thing changed. And so I would say, if you have an opportunity to, I don't know, maybe talk to, just in your neighborhood, talk to some people who aren't successful, who are much older, because they can give you a game that'll change your life, right? And they'll be real raw with it. And if you can, talk to some other people who are successful, at least in those areas that you want to be successful in. What I mean by that, if I grew up in Detroit, and it was the hood, and you know, I can see if I'm out drinking and wilding out and acting crazy, all I gotta do is talk to the guy on the corner, right? Talk to the dope, and I can see, like, you know, where is that? You know, how it's like, well, I got shot last week. Oh, damn, man, you got shot. Okay, how's your child? Oh, man, you know, the courts took the child away from me. You know, and you may see all this money and all this luxury, but the life is all screwed up. But then you can also talk to the other people who are successful, and you can just skip the line, man. You know, especially if you can get your hands on a mentor or an
Yeah.
advisor of some sort. And man, it really helps catapult your success in many different areas, not just in the area of money, but just in the area of life. So that's it for me. That's all I gotta say, my bro.
Big facts, big steps towards my future. Last time I talked with God, he told me you the one who has a spirit of courage to get you through it. Power never come without persecution. He gave you the vision, go execute it.